highest prices are in California, and big companies in Silicon Valley and California, Microsoft, Yahoo, and the woman who used to run Microsoft, Sue Decker, who sits on the board, Yahoo rather. Come on in and join us. Former CEO of Yahoo and now board member of Berkshire Hathaway. Welcome and thanks for coming along. Quickly, your thoughts on the David Sokol issue. Of course, you read that press release too. Did you express any concern when you first saw that release?
You know, I think that the thing that people have to remember about Warren and Berkshire and the way it's run is that he has a high value on putting out all the information known at the time as he knows it. And I think it's fair to say that after the audit committee did its report, if he were to write that press release today, it would probably be a little different in content and in tone based on what was learned. But at the time, he put out what the facts were at the time, and did that too with an audit committee report. I've served on a number of boards. I've never seen an internal audit committee report put out like that. And I think that served investors well to have, they may see making of the sausage a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're seeing what the company knows as it knows it. And in hindsight, the press release should have been a little bit different, but at the time, that's what we knew.
You sit on the boards, I believe, of Intel and Costco?
Yes.
Charlie's on Costco.
Yes.
So you get to see him twice.
It's a great pleasure to see Charlie as much as possible.
You get to weigh in more on boards there on prospective purchases than with Berkshire?
You know, I think that the boards are all, the role of a board is the same, no matter what public company you serve on, which is at the board level. Succession issues are big issues that we think about on all boards. Acquisitions, how the capital is used are issues that we think about. And in this particular case, Warren has such an amazing track record, and allocating capital is one of the core competitive advantages of Berkshire. You talked about the conglomerate nature of Berkshire earlier. Well, one of the huge values here is you've got a very centralized, while it's a decentralized company, very centralized approach with the world's expert in allocating that capital. So we ask questions, but we have a lot of confidence in it.
Charlie, you made a quote about people who sit on a lot of boards. I'm not sure you meant 2 or 3, but what do you think of people who almost make it a profession to sit on boards?
Well, I think there's a lot wrong with boardroom culture in our civilization as it works. And I think Sue has a very unusual position, because if I were to name 3 companies where board membership would really be a privilege, it would be Costco, Intel, and Berkshire. Every one of those companies is a miracle. I'm surprised Sue doesn't get lesson requests from all kinds of people. How do I get on boards like that?
Bill's sitting over here. How about the Microsoft board?
I think that's harder duty.
Why?
I think the problems are harder.
Well, one of the problems in the past involved both of you, or at least the company you used to run. And Sue, do you think in hindsight Yahoo should have teamed up with Microsoft when it had the chance in a bigger way than it did?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a mistake to not, that the merger was not affected was a mistake for Yahoo shareholders.
Bill?
Yeah, the companies are doing a lot together. Google's a very tough competitor, and so combining some of the strengths of Yahoo and Microsoft clearly made sense. Whether that was done through a merger or through the key business deal, which is where it ended up, that gives that partnership a chance of competing with Google and making sure they don't get too lazy.
As we finish up here, because obviously this has been an incredibly busy day and weekend for you looking at business, we like to leave our viewers with something from which they can learn, and an idea from all of you about a book that you've read, and different from last year. You can't name the same ones from last year, but the book that you read right now that you wish everybody read, Bill.
There's a book about improving poor countries called Getting Better by Charles Kenny, which is not that long, but it's a fantastic way of looking at what's happened over the last 50 years and really taking the debate about aid is totally good, aid is totally a waste, and really explaining why it's worked in some cases and how we can be smart about it.
Susan?
Yeah, I don't know if I would pick one book, but I would pick the same topic. As I've had a little more time in the last couple of years, I've been spending time visiting a number of places. I serve on the board of Save the Children, and understanding where, what kinds of investments make the most sense in countries, and where you can actually have an exit strategy so that the country can take on that investment on its own and itself promulgating over time is an interesting topic that I'm learning about.
Charlie.
Well, I actually read that book, In the Plex, about Google, even though I'm like Warren, I don't think we're ever going there. That's not our milieu. But it was a very interesting book. Really interesting.
Why? What was
the guy's an exceptionally good reporter. He comes out of your profession, and he's been at it a long time. He did a hell of a job, and I found it very, very interesting.
In the Plex. Okay, Warren?
Well, I'll give you a little different kind of answer. I would say that the most interesting thing I've read in the last year, the 69 pledge letters that have come into the Giving Pledge, and I think they're posted at givingpledge.org, and I think those are 69 great human stories about how people have come to the views they have about philanthropy and what they owe this country and what they're doing about it. So I would recommend reading that.
You're all of different ages. You're thinking about legacy in many different ways. Charlie, what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, I would share Warren's thing. I'd like to be remembered for extreme old age. Right.
Yeah. We would both like the Forbes 400 to be the 400 oldest people, and for both of us to be on the list.
But that means old in good shape. I'm not particularly interested in lying there with a tube in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll still console him, though, if he does.
But you spoke this weekend about leaving fortunes.
Leaving fortunes?
Fortunes, meaning you said a fortune honestly earned.
Oh, yeah. I said that the ideal life is a fortune fairly gained, or rather honestly gained and fairly used. And so, yeah, I think that's the way to live a life.
Warren?
I don't disagree with that.
When you look at the prospects of this country, I'll get your final thoughts, all of you, on this bill. The USA has been through some very tough times, and there is viciousness and vitriol coming out of Washington, D.C. Is it easy for you to step out of this and say, we're going to be okay?
No, absolutely. Innovation is on the march. Whether it's tech, robots, medicine, new materials, and we're going to get a lot of great tools to solve problems, even the problems of the poorest in the world.
Sue?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that there's the others have well articulated some of the great strengths of the system that we live in. The fact that we may have a period where we have to slow down a little bit as the foot comes off the accelerator on fiscal and monetary policy. I think Warren talked about that. That's inevitable. We have to get our finances in order, and that may slow things down a little bit for a time, but we have this inexorable force of capitalism beneath us that's propelling us forward.
We've poured a lot of money into it. You even said John Maynard Keynes would be proud of us, but I don't think you meant that in the best way. He, of course, the British economist who loved government money propping up a society.
Yeah. The luckiest person in the world is a healthy baby being born in the United States today. Yeah. He or she will live so much better in so many ways 20, 30, 50 years from now than we live now, just as we live better than John D. Rockefeller lived, a long time ago. This country's potential has not been fully utilized or anything close to that.
Charlie, when you wake up every morning, do you still feel that Charlie Munger, I'm going to find companies to buy no matter what the atmosphere here is in the United States?
He'd better.
I find plenty to occupy me. And I find that there are plenty of things that I can learn that I don't know now. And I find that hugely enjoyable.
Charlie gets smarter every day.
I want to thank all of you. I know you have a board meeting to attend. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Susan Decker, Bill Gates. It's an honor to have the richest minds here with us on Fox Business. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
And that's it here from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm Liz Klain.